Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the November 7 meeting of the Ann Arbor City Council. If you're able, please rise and join us for a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Would our clerk please call the roll of council?
Councilmember Dish?
Here.
Councilmember Harrison?
Here.
Councilmember Song?
Here.
Councilmember Watson? Absent? Councilmember Medina?
Here.
Councilmember Ghazi Edwin?
Here.
Mayor Taylor?
Here.
Councilmember Iyer?
Here.
Councilmember Ackman?
Here.
Councilmember Briggs?
Here.
Councilmember Cornell?
Here.
We have a quorum.
May I have a motion, please, to approve the agenda? Moved by Councilmember Song, seconded by Councilmember Harrison. Discussion of the agenda. Can I have perhaps a motion to move DC1 to immediately after our closed session? Moved by Councilmember Medina, seconded by Councilmember Harrison. Discussion of that amendment. All in favor? Is that right? All opposed? The amendment is approved. Further discussion of the agenda as amended. All in favor? All opposed? It is approved. Do we have any communications today from our city administrator?
No, Mayor.
In the absence of introductions, we move directly into public comment. Public comment reserve time. Public comment reserve time is an opportunity for members of the public to speak to council and the community about matters of municipal interest. To speak at public comment reserve time, one needs to have signed up in advance by contacting our city clerk. Speakers in all instances will have 3 minutes in which to speak, so please pay close attention to the time. Our clerk or the time clock will notify you when 30 seconds are remaining and when your time has expired. When your time has expired, please conclude your remarks and cede the floor. Our first speaker today is Kathy Griswold.
Good evening. I'm speaking on CA7 this evening, but first I wanted to congratulate Alyssa Slotkin, who will be our next senator from Michigan. And I just want to read a couple of statements from her acceptance speech. I believe in my bones that America is at its best when we have two healthy parties that push and pull and debate on issues of policy, substance, and make our laws better. That is what our founding fathers intended and what makes our country great: engaged citizens and principled leaders. So regarding CA7, which is to extend the contract for the interim public services area administrator. This is a topic that I've talked about many, many times. We do not have transportation operations expertise. We haven't had it for over a decade, even though it is a key element of Vision Zero. And this is not to criticize any existing staff, but to identify an opportunity to address, at least at the latest, in the next budget cycle. On election night, I was downtown. I came very close to hitting a pedestrian and a cyclist. The pedestrian stepped out in front of me. I didn't see the pedestrian. I didn't hit the pedestrian. I stopped. I pulled over, and I looked to see why it was so dark. It was right down by the bus station. There were 3 streetlights out. Those were the same streetlights that I have turned in tickets for at least 5 times. This is our bus station. The A2 Fix-It system is a really great system. It works well in the residential area. It doesn't work well in commercial areas. So I would plead with the city to come up with a policy to address streetlight outages in the downtown area and in non-residential areas. Lastly, I want to thank Councilmember Lynn Song. When I was talking about one of our favorite topics, I won't even mention it, she suggested that I talk to the Attorney General. Based on that advice, I did talk to a number of people at the state level, and following the election, we're going to look at some of the state laws and the federal standards that are not being followed in Ann Arbor. One of them is line of sight, which is critical. This may sound far-fetched, but I have done something similar 3 times with crosswalk signage and other issues, and in every case, the city intervened and we had a solution that was much safer for our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Aidan Sova.
Can I give these with you? I don't know if it's official business or... Hi, friends. It's nice to see you all. Tonight is Lynn Song's final night in council. For now, there might be another campaign I don't know about, maybe in a couple years. But Lynn, I met you in 2021 on Twitter, as a lot of people have met Lynn, I've come to find out. I was at the time trying to get into the community and find ways to invest and just to give back in a way that felt productive and useful. And Lynn was someone who, true to her form, listened. And you had recently cycled off of the library, and she said, "The library is excellent. Do you know about the library? We can talk about the library." And I said, "You are talking to a chief library enjoyer." And from there was a lot of discussion, and I eventually ended up running for our library board. And there is no world in which that would have happened if not for your encouragement and your support in that. You talk so much about advancing opportunities for those that are underserved or marginalized. And you are one of the few leaders I know who not only talks about it, but does it, right? And makes sure that there's an investment and there's a support network in place for people like me and other people to succeed and thrive and contribute to our community. And I think our Ann Arbor city is so much better for it and because of that. And I also, every single time I talk to you or talk to someone who knows you, they say, "Oh, I worked with Lynn on this thing or that thing or whatever." I don't know how you have time for it all. I don't know how you know all these people. I hope that you're sleeping. I hope that you're resting at some points. I'm seeing shakes no from your family. I just genuinely, I'm in awe of you. I'm inspired by you. I'm so appreciative of you. And what is so special about this is that I'm not an isolated occurrence, right? In terms of you seeking to uplift the members in our community, investing in them, and we just could not be more grateful. As evidenced by this, the elephant in the room, of course, is the election that happened earlier this week. You might have seen or heard about the election. I was so angry and sad and scared and disappointed, and I'm texting Lynn at like 4 a.m, just stream of consciousness and thoughts. And I spent my next morning actually with Lynn and a number of like-minded individuals just to funnel our thoughts into action and to not be scared and to stand up to what is hate with a light of progress that Lynn, of course, has and thankfully extends to us. And I could not be more appreciative. This city and our state is a better place because of you as a person. You're going to get a lot of these comments tonight I'm seeing in the crowd, but Lynn, I had to have this time just to share my thanks with you. We all appreciate you. Thank you, everyone.
Our next speaker is Eric Ivanich.
Mayor
Hello.
Eric Ivanich is on Zoom. Go ahead.
Hello, I'm here to express my appreciation for Councilmember Lynn Song and her 4 years of service here on City Council, along with many, many years of good work that she's done at the city, county, and state levels. Outside of City Council, Lynn Song has helped our community in a variety of ways. She served on the boards of the Ann Arbor District Library, the Neutral Zone, and Avalon Housing. Over the years, she's reached out and connected with an incredible number of people, and she has a Rolodex that's the envy of many. So many of us are particularly grateful for her service as co-chair of Reproductive Freedom for All, the statewide group that gathered signatures and educated voters to amend the Michigan State Constitution to guarantee the right to abortion and more generally reproductive rights for all Americans, for all Michiganders. We in Ann Arbor and beyond are bracing for some incredibly hard times that are heading our way. And we're trying to figure out what we as individuals, families, and communities can do to weather and overcome them. Lynn Song has provided a beautiful template to get us started. nourish one another with food, understanding, and compassion, look out for the more vulnerable among us, build bridges between communities, organize and fight for fairness and justice. Thank you, Councilmember Song, for everything.
Our next speaker is Faizia Nabasili.
Mayor, this caller is on Zoom. Caller with the phone number ending in 407, go ahead. Faizi Nablisi, phone number.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes. go
Yes, we
ahead.
can.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Faizina Bilsi, and I'm the director of the Bryant Market and Facilities with Community Action Network. I'm on here today because I would like to express my sincere gratitude to Councilwoman Lynn Song for her invaluable contributions to our organization. Her generous donations were instrumental in making our back-to-school barbecue a reality, enabling us to provide a memorable experience for many families who are facing financial challenges. Lynn Song's support has helped us turn aspirations into tangible achievements and have helped us enhance programs, provide essential resources, and uplift those in need. The contributions not only address immediate challenges, but also foster a sense of hope and connection among community members. I would like to applaud your advocacy and help in securing more human services funding after the end of the coordinated funding with the county, which included temporary funding extensions for affected organizations. In addition, we would like to thank you for your advocacy related to securing 40% of mental health millage city rebate for human services, which included Ann Arbor Housing Commission tenants. Thank you for being a vital part of our mission to create a better, more supportive environment for everyone.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Sandy Aldrich.
Good evening. Hi, I'm Sandy Aldrich, and I live in Ward 2. And this evening, I'm here to say thank you to Lynn Song. While some people might, her name might elicit some head shakes to some people, particularly due to her insistence on upholding the sidewalk at some said club on Getty's. I have been a member of that said club for 18 years, and I can reassure you all is well in the land of swimsuits and rackets, so we're all good there. I have to say that there's a lot that I could say, but I just wanted to say thank you. I met Lynn about 20 years ago, I think, when I moved into the neighborhood. She embodies the spirit of Ann Arbor. She understands the importance of building a strong community and creating a welcome environment for all. So her dedication to our city, I think, is rooted in her personal experiences as a U of M grad, go blue, as a resident, a mother and spouse, a neighborhood organizer, Bushard, and really a friend, and of course the giant yellow campaign signs that some people are walking around with. She's worked tirelessly to ensure that Ann Arbor remains a place of where everybody feels valued and supported, and the valued part is super important. Lynn's dedication to improving social services, economic development, and social justice has made a significant positive impact to our community. So, and I guess we should applaud. Please join me in applauding. Yay, Lynn! And just to show our appreciation as we continue to build bridges for a bright and inclusive future. Thank you, Lynn.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Decky Alexander.
Like perhaps many people here, I'm a localist, which to me means if not a devotion, a passion, a directive, a drive for living and investing locally, our bodies, our minds, and time, from politics to people and to programs. There are many fellow travelers in this city that live La Vida local, but tonight I want to lift up one person that lives a localist life with profound depth, dimension, and fearlessness, and that's Councilmember Lynn Song. Lynn, after a 4-year term representing Ward 2, is ending her tenure tonight. She will continue, of course, to be a champion of equity and access and to always be bettering the city and community by way of affordable housing and refugee support, but we'll be doing so beyond this council, as tonight is her last meeting. Personally, I want to thank you for her, and yes, she's my actual city council rep, for her constant, perhaps compulsive, want to ensure all voices are always at the table, the community table, the policy table. Basically, Lynn wants to make sure that outreach and invitation are by policy making and programming, that all are welcome here. I say this because one of those voices she intentionally reached out to speak up and show up here was me. Lynn and I walked in parallel lanes for years, volunteering, supporting local politics and organizations like JFS, Jewish Family Services. She's a board member, and the Refugee Resettlement Program. However, shortly after October 7th and the monthly parade of vitriol towards American Jews, these public comments, she reached out and basically said, I think someone from the Jewish community should be here. She did not direct me to speak, but called this fellow traveler and constituent to make sure we were present and that my voice, our voice, were heard. Much of what city council members do is respond to inquiries. This easement is a little shaky. The invasive species is taking over Narrow Gauge Park. But what Lynn has done so thoughtfully is outreach, as a way to ensure that all peoples who live in this dynamic, full of constant arrivals of city are listened to, cared for, and supported. Thank you. We are grateful for your service on this council and all the activities and efforts you do beyond including bringing cookies to poll workers at King's School on Election Day, and just making sure that those who are keeping democracy safe are nourished and fed. Thanks.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Jean Henry.
You got a lollipop. A little embarrassing. Hi, everybody. It's nice to see you all in this new world. I am here also to thank Lynn for her service to our community. It sounds like we're going to get her resume. It sounds like we're going to hear about the food. I have some resentment around the food thing because she outfoods me every time and kind of usurped I thought I had a realm, and then she just shows up with more food and better food every time. We're going to let that one go, and I'm going to tell a little bit of a story, not a long one. I met Lynn when they were going to put mall cops downtown to sort of police people that were panhandling and give people directions. There's an app for that. Anyway, I was sort of worked up about the idea of it and showed up at a meeting, and there was Lynn, and I realized I had a cohort. She made me feel immediately welcome, understood. We have similar value sets. We have a willingness to say things that maybe people don't want to hear. She says it more in a way that people can hear it, I think. So I learned a lot from her. Sometime around that time, she decided to run for library board. She won. It was the 2016 election. I was planning on a different outcome and had arranged a taco truck on the corner, and we were raising money for Planned Parenthood and for Safe House, and she said, I'll make it my election victory party, which probably doubled the census of people contributing to those causes and buying tacos and hanging out and sharing community together. So here we are again, full circle, 8 years later, and Lynn has had a career that is remarkable in terms of its impact on this community. And yet so much work remains to be done. I have no question. I don't even have to ask her what she's doing next, because I know I can always trust that good work is being done because Lynn is in our community. I also want to say that over that time, she gained sort of what I would call societal power and legitimacy beyond what was present when she was running for library board. And she still speaks truth to power. And that is the most unusual thing in the world, that somebody invested in institutions will still say the hard thing in the room full of people who don't want to hear it. So I expect you to keep doing it, Lynn, and I expect you to keep out-fooding me, and if you want me to bring over some food sometime, I'd like to, but I don't think there'll ever be a gap. Oh.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Adam Goodman.
Hello. So I, like so many other people apparently, am here tonight to thank Councilmember Lynn Song for her service. And I've known Lynn for much longer than I've known any of the rest of you up on the dais. And so when Lynn was running for council back in 2020, I wrote a little Facebook post to tell all my friends, and actually anyone who cared to read it, that they needed to support Lynn. And I want to just read what I wrote real quick. What I said was, "It's hard for me to even put into words what a powerhouse Lynn is. She brings an incredible amount of energy, optimism, and yes, industrial quantities of homemade food to everything that she does. She also brings an amazing set of experiences and expertise to bear. She is one of the first people whose counsel I'd seek for advice on nonprofits, philanthropy, and meaningful ways to uplift everyone in our community. Vote for Lynn." So I wanted to read that because I think the last 4 years have shown us that everything I wrote was, completely true, and maybe even more true now than it was before, except for the fact that folks didn't have the opportunity to vote for Lynn this year. But who knows? Maybe sometime in the future. Because given what happened on Tuesday, we're going to need people like Lynn more than ever. People who have the know-how and the commitment to help those who need it the most. And I know that even if she is not holding public office, Lynn will continue doing everything in her power to do exactly that, to create a more just and equitable society in Ann Arbor, if not the wider world. So again, thank you, Lynn, for all that you've done and all that you're still doing. And as a little coda, I'll mention that this summer I went to a campaign event for the incoming council member, John Malik. And John mentioned that he had himself baked all of the cookies that he was serving at this event. And I think that more than anything gave me confidence that nobody can replace Lynn, but perhaps you do have a worthy successor. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Susan Westhoff.
Caller with the phone number 407. Press *6 to unmute your phone. Susan Westhoff.
Yes, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Thank you so much. I'm sorry I can't be with everyone tonight. Along with so many tonight, I'm calling in to honor the work of Councilmember Lynn Song with her last meeting in office. I wish I could be there in person, as I am deeply appreciative of her efforts to support the more vulnerable people in our community. I've admired from afar how she's worked with peers to move forward the Universal Basic Income Program, to support trauma-informed services, surveying child care needs, and equitable housing opportunities. Lynn, I appreciate the ways you uplift the work of so many nonprofits and groups in our area. I've seen you bring up United Way, Washington Housing Alliance, and my very own Lovely Science and Nature Center that I've lived at for 13 years now. I first met Lynn when she hosted her birthday party at the Lovely Science and Nature Center, just to be able to help her friends and network get to know what she called a little gift to Ann Arbor that was too hidden. She continues to champion and support our work and so many in our community. I'm also grateful for Lynn's support of area small businesses, our natural areas, and certainly championing our parks throughout her time on council. Our community continues to benefit from Lynn Song's passion and experience and honesty and I'm truly grateful for her dedication to all of this work. Thank you so much, Lynn. I know we will continue to benefit from your contributions to this community, and this isn't goodbye, but thank you for all of your time on council. I'm grateful to know you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Pravina Ramaswamy.
Hi there. I also am here to speak about Lynn Song. And I know we have a time limit, and I want to give everybody this opportunity, but I am I've known Lynn also, just like everyone else, in many ways, but I am a Ward 2 resident, a proud North Sider, and Lynn has been a wonderful representative for us. She decided to run in 2020, as you know, during the pandemic. It was a very difficult time for our community. And I'm glad she was elected, but during that time, we saw a lot of shifts of in the country, in our city. A lot of people who are marginalized were affected. She really thought about communities that don't have voices and made sure that we were all taken care of. And I just ask that as she leaves this position and now we enter a new, perhaps very difficult stage that's coming up, that you all take the reins and make sure that our community is safe and we have protections and we have care and support, and you are there for all of us as she has been. And Lynn, thank you for your service, and everyone has said amazing things. Thank you for what you've done on the north side of town to really help and support us and represent and work really hard to bring representation to council. I really appreciate it, and thank you for everything you've done.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Jenny Potter.
I'm here to thank Lynn for being a wonderful representative of Ward 2 and Ann Arbor and the state of Michigan. I relocated from Georgia back in 2010, and Michigan was a culture shock for me, both learning how to navigate Midwestern nice and understanding the purple politics, which were dramatically different from the politics that I grew up with. And there were times when our family questioned whether we could make Michigan our new home. And a large part of us staying in Michigan was because of Lynn. I'm wearing a vintage shirt that a lot of people misread and ask about Link. And maybe that's not a mistake, because she is so amazing at linking people together, organizations together, seeing past the politics, and seeing people for who they are and how to uplift their needs, and not just including them at the table, but giving them a sense of belonging. And 2016 was tough. 2020, when she ran, she has spoken and put forward so many amazing things around affordable housing, an armed response, unhoused, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what the next chapter is and supporting that next chapter. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Quinn Song.
Okay. What's up, council members? Hi, my name is Quinn, and today I'll be saying a few words about Councilwoman Lynn Song. First of all, sorry for everyone making you cry a lot, Mom. I know it's hard to keep the tears in. Second, I would like to talk about 2016. So I still remember it, even though I was only 6 years old. When I was 6 years old, my mom took me door knocking in my Elsa dress. We would phone bank together, which is how I learned to be nice to mean people. My mom has always been the funniest person I know. She has worked so hard during her time on council, staying up late to write emails and resolutions, so many papers and boring stuff like that. I think that she has made this city so much better, and even our state a better place. Thank you for making me really good food. Thank you for always listening to people, open to new ideas and opinions. Thank you for wearing your uterus costume, and even though it is quite embarrassing, especially when you pick me up from school wearing it, it is so iconic, and I'm sure everyone will remember it. Thank you for being awesome, Mom. Peace out. Quinn Song.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Stephanie Chang.
Stephanie Chang on Zoom. Go ahead.
All right. I think I'm here. Good evening, council members. This is Stephanie Chang calling in from Detroit. I'm a state senator here, and as a fellow Asian American woman, social worker turned public servant / organizer, I just have so much appreciation for Councilmember Lin Song, for her leadership over so many years. Really grateful for your friendship, for your leadership, and for your unwavering commitment to social justice and always prioritizing the needs of those who are most vulnerable, and always being so unafraid to tackle big issues in a bold way, and in a way that really makes people want to get involved, in a way that is fun and is engaging. I'm just very grateful for you. I also am grateful for the way that you have consistently supported me and supported so many others, many people in the room that I see, and then many across the state who I think would not be in the positions that we are without you, and would not be as we wouldn't have the same type of energy and commitment to the ongoing fight for justice if not for you. And so when I am just so grateful for you, excited about all of your continued journey as we continue, just such important work on behalf of all of our communities. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Corrine Moore.
Good evening. I apologize in advance for the redundancy. But I'm going to start by saying Lynn is an excellent cook, right? But not just in the kitchen, also in the community. She knows what ingredients are needed to put together something comforting, inspiring, progressive, and forward-thinking. She is hopeful and sets out to do whatever is needed to pull that recipe together. She tells the story often. Our kids were in karate class together, and she was on a mission to find more people to serve in office. She leisurely asked every karate mom whether they were interested in serving or serving in office. I expressed interest in doing that someday, emphasis on someday, and she said, let's chat. She meant now. She needed somebody immediately to run for library board, and before I knew it, I was out there running for office. And I don't regret it one bit. Library board was fulfilling, wholesome work, and we needed good people who love and value libraries to serve in leadership. She didn't know that my first job was at a library and that I'd gone on to work at 3 other local libraries after that. We didn't know each other at all. Just by being out there and getting the word out, she came across someone with a genuine connection to libraries who was willing to serve and encourage them to step forward. And I'm not the only person she's done that for, right? We've already heard from Aiden. She's constantly looking for the underutilized talent and resources right here in the community. After I joined library board, Lynn quickly transitioned to city council. where we needed progressive, diverse community members to engage the conversation. She has done that, and while serving, she has continued to recruit young, progressive, and forward-thinking Ann Arborites who truly value both maintaining the existing community and building a more inclusive community. She has served with heart, perseverance, kindness, and almost always necessary snacks. Lynn has represented all of these things to me. She is a mother, a friend, and a leader who takes the time to do the right thing because it's the right thing to do. Former First Lady Rosalind Carter once said, "A leader takes people where they want to go. A great leader takes people where they don't necessarily want to go, but ought to be." From the bottom of my heart, thank you for your service.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Chip Smith.
Hi, friends. We'll get to you in a minute. I want to say to Ms. Boudry and her staff, you guys did such a great job running the election. We're so lucky to have all of you. For my money, I don't know that there's a ranking or anything, but you're number one in the country. We are so lucky. Great job. Thank your staff for us, please, and the volunteers as well. Lynn, so 4 years ago was my last night. It was a Zoom meeting. It wasn't a whole lot of fun. That whole council term wasn't a whole lot of fun, and it wasn't particularly noteworthy for anything except that council's missteps. But luckily, we had a crop of people that ran, and you got elected, and you've done a great job. But I just want to tell one little story. And everybody has said much more eloquent things about what a great connector you are and what a great leader you are. I'm just going to talk about how much fun I've had with you and what a great friend you and your family have been to us. And, you know, you would have gotten into politics eventually. I feel like when you brought Jagan and Quinn over to my house in 2015 to make phone calls on that primary day in August, that was just an accelerant. But for the people that don't know what it's like to be around Lynn is I live by perhaps the most negative person on the internet in Ann Arbor, who is really, really full of vitriol, and it is generally aimed at elected officials. And we were kind of chatting about that as we were making phone calls, and Lynn said, "I'm going to go introduce myself." And so off she went, next door, knocked on the door. "Hi, I'm Lynn Song from the internet." It was great. And from now on, like, I just think she should have business cards that say Lynn Song from the internet. You know, we were lucky to have you for 4 years. I think we're even luckier to have you working on the state and national level to protect people's rights, to make it a more just and inclusive place. You have done so much for Ann Arbor. You have connected so much of Ann Arbor to decision-making so that our values can influence what happens in the state and what happens nationally. And I'm just excited to see what happens next. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Andy Labar.
Mr. Labar is joining us on Zoom. Caller with the phone number 298. You can press *6 to unmute your phone.
Mr. Mayor, Council, thank you for having me here tonight via the power of the internet that former Councilmember Smith just mentioned. I too want to join the group here in providing great praise and laudatory remarks for Councilmember Song's service. Lynn, as has been said this evening, is a remarkable person in many different ways and a remarkable member of this community. But I wanted to thank her especially for her work to make me a more effective member of the County Board of Commissioners and to make the city a more effective partner, in my opinion, for ensuring that we do what we need to as a community around human services. Lynn was always there to ensure that the voice of the folks in Ward 2 and the voice of people in this community that weren't always heard or listened to or considered in those decisions had that voice. And I really, really appreciate Lynn's partnership on so many of those human service levels, particularly in the context of unwinding the coordinated funding system. And then I just wanted to also thank you again, Lynn, in the fall of 2021, as we as a community were sort of getting back in person after COVID. Your advocacy on the need for child care services to continue, to be accessible, to be affordable, to be present here in our community was certainly not lost on anyone, myself included. You are a remarkable advocate and public servant, and most importantly, jewel of this community. Thank you for your public service here tonight, and thank you so much for the service I know you'll render to all of us in the years and decades to come. Thank you, Lynn.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Mira Sussman.
Caller with the phone number ending in 422. Go ahead.
Can y'all hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi, this is Mira Sussman. I am going to add to the Lynn Song Love Fest. I met Lynn, I don't know, maybe 15 or 16 years ago, as we are both social workers with a special interest in helping immigrants. As a native Ann Arborite, as a current resident, and as a representative of Jewish Family Services of Washtenaw County, I wanted to express my heartfelt gratitude to Lynn Song for her many years of service to the community. As a city council member, she champions the needs of not just residents of her ward, but of the whole city. She highlights the economic disparities throughout our zip codes and prioritizes those most in need. When COFU funding was in disarray, Lynn advocated that social services organizations should be prioritized. She helped to make sure that the city budget worked towards preventing evictions and that ARPA funds were used for basic needs. She supported the first guaranteed income program in the state and championed ordinances that encouraged home-based entrepreneurs, such as the individuals who are supported by Jewish Family Services Business Incubator. She has been a dedicated champion of all the community-based organizations that serve as the frontline safety net for our community. Lynn champions also public statements from City Council against anti-Semitism and anti-Asian hate. Lynn is a board member for JFS and was an energetic co-chair for our annual Walk a Mile in Our Shoes event to raise funds as well as awareness of the importance of immigrants to our local community. Thank you. And community is truly at the heart of everything she does. Her life's mission is to bring people together to connect like-minded individuals, organizations, and public entities together to make change happen. So here's just one example. Yesterday, when so many of us were struggling and worried about how changes in the federal administration will affect us as individuals and as organizations, and also the issues that we care about, Lynn immediately sent out a message for people to gather for hugs and conversation. An impressive array of community members met each other, talked, and incredible connections were made. Lynn does this all the time, connecting people to each other. She does it everywhere she goes. But most of all, Lynn wears her heart on her sleeve. I've seen her cry more times than I can count and heard her speak passionately about her family's experience and those of other people she knows. On behalf of JFS and myself, I thank Lynn for her continuing service to the community and wish you all the best in your next endeavors. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Doug Song.
Hi, I'm Doug Song, political spouse, and Lynn Song's proudest supporter. Let me tell you about my wife. Many of you know Lynn as the councilwoman who helped shepherd our transformative affordable housing millage, but I know her as someone who sees public service really as a calling to create pathways for others. She understands that true progress requires changing not just policies, but who sits at the table. Lynn doesn't just talk about representation, she has actively worked to build it. She's recruited and supported candidates who reflected our community's diversity, helping to elect Cynthia Harrison and Chris Watson, Ann Arbor's first Black City Council members in 15 years. Her vision for inclusive leadership extends actually beyond city limits, supporting groundbreaking candidates like My Song, no relation, over Macomb County, Gabriela Santiago Romero in Detroit. She understands that building a more representative democracy means supporting BIPOC leaders really across Michigan. But what drives Lynn is a deep understanding that policy changes can transform lives. She didn't just support a guaranteed basic income pilot. She worked to make it a reality because she knows how stabilizing income can keep families whole. When she expanded regulations for home-based businesses, it wasn't just about zoning, it was about creating economic opportunities for everyone in our community. And beyond her council role, few people really know how Lynn's worked tirelessly behind the scenes, endlessly, coordinating funding and resources for our most vulnerable neighbors, from refugee families seeking a new start, to seniors needing support, to residents experiencing homelessness. She's shown that compassionate governance isn't just about passing resolutions, it's about building bridges between resources and need. And all the while, championing these transformative initiatives, she's been equally committed to our family, helping our daughter enter high school and Model UN, helping our son get to college, and serving as a poll worker, somehow managing to turn our puppy into a mostly well-behaved family member. She's demonstrated that public service and family aren't really competing priorities. They're both about creating a better future for everyone. Lynn, you've helped not just make Ann Arbor, but our entire region a more equitable, more inclusive, and more representative place to be. Your work has created ripples that will last well beyond your time in council. Well, I'm looking forward to getting back some of our evenings and some weekends. I know your commitment to building inclusive democracy will continue in many new ways. Thank you for showing us all what progressive, people-centered leadership truly means, and proving that when we open doors for others, we all rise together. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Joan Lowenstein. Oh, I'm sorry, Michelle Groh.
When I called the city clerk, I requested not to follow Quinn, but I didn't know I should request also not to follow Doug. Good evening, council members, and thank you for allowing me to be here tonight. My name is Michelle, and my family relocated to Ann Arbor from San Francisco about 15 years ago. I met Lynn soon after. We've resided in Ward 2 since then, and Lynn Song is our council hero. In the wake of this week's election, what I want to share with you tonight feels a bit raw and unpolished, and it feels more important to me than ever. What I want to speak to tonight is what I know and continue to learn about the power of compassion in politics. And tonight, surprise, surprise, I want to hone in on Lynn. Throughout the past 4 years, I've witnessed her resolve to always, every single day, marry actionable policies and interventions with compassion, curiosity, transparency, and creativity. A huge dose of humor, too. Whenever I find myself needing community resources, I call Lynn first. A few years ago, that call came when a neighborhood boy was tragically killed while crossing the street between Gallup Park and Huron. Lynn was on it. And today we have new crosswalks, speed limits, and signage. That same year, I reached out to Lynn after a number of our beloved kids in our community had died by suicide, and their families were shattered, and our community was fractured. And then just this morning, after learning about a young mom at risk of losing her family's housing, a parent to 2 Ann Arbor school children, and one of our very own bus drivers, I texted Lynn to again ask for her help. And within 5 minutes, Lynn had connected me to the names of various programs, school contacts, and community allies. And then in an hour, I was able to call this mom and promise her that her family will not be homeless. Beyond governance and policymaking and creating a welcoming community, Lynn's life is a chorus that echoes to everyone: you are safe, you are cared for, and you are loved. My guess is every single person in this room has experienced that multiple times. I'm guessing the backdrop of that is her unrelenting and fierce determination to create affordable housing, a seat at the table for the marginalized among us, trans kids, refugees, unhoused members of our community, survivors of suicide, and parents who are suffering. I could go on all night. Her refusal to never separate policy from compassion is changing our world, one bowl of kimchi fried rice at a time. Because Lynn never forgot her own story as a child of Southeast Asian refugees, she's also never separated her role in politics from compassion. And on her last night here as a council member, and on this week in our country when millions of people feel left and behind and terrified, we need more of that. And so I ask you to do that. Lynn, thanks for your leadership and your friendship, and thanks for never giving up on this community and our country. I'm grateful.
Thank you. We've now reached 45 minutes. Councilmember Rodino.
Thank you, Mayor. I would move that we suspend the rules to allow for the completion of public comment.
I believe there's no debate on that, but it's a 2/3 vote.
Correct.
Any discussion? Or rather, is there a second? Second by Councilmember Harrison. Is there a discussion? All in favor? Opposed? It's approved. The rules are suspended. Our next speaker is John Lowenstein.
If you didn't do that, your account would
Big
suffer.
trouble.
Yeah. So I want to talk about Lynn, but first I want, as co-chair of A2C3, the Ann Arbor Campus Community Coalition, I wanted to invite the community and all of you to Communities Talk. It's November 20th at the Downtown Library from 5:30 to 7. It is about exploring cannabis trends in Ann Arbor, a bicentennial journey through culture, social justice, and wellness. This is linked to the Ann Arbor District Library commemoration of the city's bicentennial, and they've been working with us in A2C3. One of their archivists has done a fantastic job of collecting all kinds of information about the history of cannabis in Ann Arbor, from reefer madness to legalization to now, when you can go through town and if you see stores called Cake and Butter, you might think they're bakeries, but that might mean that you've been in a long-term coma. So in any case, it should be interesting. I'll send you more information as it gets closer to the time. So now, I also want to thank my good friend Lynn Song. 4 years ago, Lynn ran against someone pretending to be something that she wasn't. And Lynn won, and that's because she is the genuine article. She is sage, she is wise, she is caring. There's not a mean bone in her body. Wait, I'm going to cross that out. The most important thing about Lynn is that she is generous. She is the most generous person I know. She's taught us all about generosity. She's taught her children to be generous. And I think she has been a wonderful mentor to her successor. We're so lucky to have had Lynn and to have her mentor, John Malik, who's going to be a wonderful council member. And it's the one optimistic fact about the next 4 years is that we will have someone who is so great to also replace, well, you're irreplaceable, Lynn, but to come and be council member in your place. And thank you for all of your service. And I know we have not seen the last of you around these parts.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Brandon Dimcheff.
Well, I didn't plan on being last. I just procrastinated until 4:45 and then called the clerk's office. So since 20 of 21 people were here to say nice things about Lynn, I thought I would do a roast. Is that okay? Or not really, but I feel obligated to tell a food story. So one of my favorite memories from the pandemic is when Lynn was putting kimchi out in like a cooler on her front porch because like everyone was social distancing and stuff, and I came by to sneak my jar of kimchi, and she saw me and came out, and then we like talked for an hour, and she showed me Doug's skate park in the backyard and all this stuff. So that was great. It was great, like was a great moment of like everyone was kind of isolated, and we had a little bit of social distance fun there unexpectedly, and it was a relief at a time when I really needed it. So. Thank you for that. I'm going to read what I actually wrote here, and you will note that I'm not as good of a speechwriter as many of the other people that have come before me. But I wish we were under happier circumstances that I'm speaking to you today. Many of us fear that our country is headed down a dark path, but I'm confident we will react with determination to protect the rights of those in our community, and that we will get through the next 4 years if we stick together. Councilmember Song, Lynn, your service to our community gives me confidence that Ann Arbor will survive and thrive despite what might be going on at 1600 Pennsylvania Ave. Your long history of advocacy, community building, and determination are the inspiration that we need, especially at times like this. You always stand up for vulnerable members of our community and bring people together to fight the good fight. I'm sad to see you leave council, but I'm incredibly thankful for your 4 years of service to our city. I don't know exactly what the future holds, but I fully expect to be fighting at your side to preserve, protect, and defend our rights as we navigate the future together. John Malik has some really big shoes to fill. I'm glad to hear that he bakes cookies, though. So, like, but once again, thank you for everything that you've done and everything that you will do in the future. We all love you.
Thank you. Are there communications today from council? Councilmember Dina.
I'll start. So first, though, I would like to also express a huge thanks to our exceptional city clerk, her entire staff, and all of the members of our community who worked at the polls and made our elections possible this last week. I know that the amount of time, work, and energy that goes into that is not seen by many, but you are the unsung heroes of our democracy, and so thank you. While we had a lot to celebrate here locally, I also know that a lot in our community are really heartbroken at the results, troubled by the results, worried and afraid. I am too. We saw what happened before, so we know what's coming. Please take care of yourselves, support one another, check on your neighbors, demonstrate and cherish kindness. Now even more than last time, local leaders here in Ann Arbor and around the country need to stand ready to protect our communities. And I know that Ann Arbor leaders are ready to fight each and every day for our residents. I was president of a nonprofit the last time that we experienced this presidency. And I also know that there are a network of nonprofits in our community that are ready to support the community in many ways as we move forward. So look to one another and we can get through this. Our democracy will persevere. Lynn. I didn't prepare anything because once I saw all of the people that were coming, I knew that I would just be writing things that everyone was going to say already. So I just want to say that I am so grateful to have been able to serve with you for the last 4 years, to learn from you, to experience all of that empathy and kindness and love that everyone here came to speak about. You are a person that checks in on people, that makes sure people are feeling safe and included and welcome, and that is something that is so undervalued and it's so important, and so thank you. Whether you're nerding out over your municipal crushes or watching the 10 of us fight over your homemade pickles, or countering hate speech with gifts to nonprofits that are going to lift people up, or prioritizing policy and budget in ways that will improve lives each and every day. We are all better because of your service, and our city is better because of your service. And I know, just like everyone else, that this is absolutely not the end for you. You will find ways to continue to make an impact, probably even bigger ones when you're not, constrained to what you can do in a meeting, but rather what you can do each and every day. But I just want to thank you so much for spending the last 4 years with us. It's going to be really weird not to have you here, but I know that we can all call on you, and I just want to thank you so much for your friendship. Thanks.
Councilmember Harrison, speaking of constraints. Councilmember Harrison.
Thank you, Mayor. I do want to start out by thanking Clerk Beaudry and her staff, and they did an amazing job. 2 days ago, our city and our country participated in elections that have stirred many emotions. I know that for some in our community, the results bring disappointment and concern about the future. But we are Ann Arbor, and we have faced challenges before. We will face them again, stronger and more united each time. Here in our city, many of our neighbors cast their votes for a future defined by opportunity and inclusion. Our collective work is more important than ever, not just to respond to national changes, but to build an opportunity economy right here within Ann Arbor. We can ensure that our growth and progress are for everyone, regardless of the shifts happening around us. It was hard, quite frankly, it was hard coming here this evening and speaking tonight, but I wanted to reaffirm my commitment to creating a city where all voices are valued, where hope is rooted in action, and where resilience is the heart of our community. In moments like these, disappointment cannot divide us. We can't let it stop us from working together, from striving for a better, more inclusive Ann Arbor. Before I close, I want to extend my heartfelt thanks to my friend, Councilmember Lynn Song, for her service. Lynn has been a gracious mentor to me, and I deeply appreciate all that she's done to advance inclusivity and equity through her work in government and in community. Thank you, Lynn, for your support, your generosity, but most important, for believing in me. It's going to be really hard to be here and not see you sitting next to me. But I know that we'll still be reaching out to one another, and we'll remain close. I wish you well in all that lie ahead, and I'm truly proud to have served alongside of you.
Councilmember Iyer.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilmember Harrison, for those words about our recent election. I know there's going to be a lot more conversation as we go forward about how we are going to address the changing national landscape and respond to it in a way that continues to make Ann Arbor an inclusive community that looks out for and protects the most vulnerable residents among us. I do want to take time to read what I put together about Lynn. I knew I would have to read it so that I don't get all choked up here. It is fairly repetitive with a lot of the things that we've heard tonight. In fact, I think it'd be wonderful if one of our tech folks could take all these comments and put together a word cloud or something, because I'm checking through my words and they're just, we all feel it about Lynn. So Lynn's contributions on council have left an indelible mark on our community. She's exemplified what it means to serve with purpose, vision, and commitment to helping all who live and work here, especially marginalized communities. Her tenure on council has been marked by empathy, compassion, and an indefatigable dedication to creating a more inclusive Ann Arbor. Her work on council has addressed some of the most pressing issues facing our city, from affordable housing to unarmed crisis response to increased funding for human services and so much more. Her efforts have been effective and, more importantly, rooted in equity. Lynn has always been an advocate for inclusivity in our local government, and we see it as we look around this room. She's created new opportunities for residents to speak up and get involved in their local government, and the diversity of lived experiences represented by new voices is making a huge and lasting impact on the work we do. And she has been an unshakable force, speaking out and working against hate and discrimination in our community. But what is maybe most impressive is how Lynn brings people together in a crisis. when shelters overflow, when schools shut down, childcare, when residents are unfairly facing eviction, Lynn knows who to convene to solve problems and get things done. And of course, Lynn's legacy began long before her service on council, reaches far beyond her work on council, and will extend long after. Lynn, thank you for everything you've done here. Thank you for your vision, for your heart, for your snacks, for your infectious laughter, and for being not just a council colleague, but a friend who's been there time and time again for me and others. So good luck in your next steps. We are going to continue to benefit from the work you do, not just here in Ann Arbor, but throughout Michigan and throughout the whole country. Thank you.
Councilmember Ghazi Edwin.
I was not aware I would be following up Councilmember Ayer's remarks. And, firstly, I want to thank Clerk Beaudry for everything you and your office did during the selection, although I wish the results were much different. I know how hard you all work, so thank you. I want to tell a story about Lynn. So I met Lynn in 2022. I'm also going to read it so I don't get too emotional. I met Lynn in 2022 through my work as a Human Rights Commissioner, and she called me after a meeting and asked me to think about running. And I was pregnant, and I semi-swerved off the road, and I told her that I didn't think that I could, and she told me that she thought I could. You truly have a gift of seeing connections between people and communities, and you're able to integrate the story of your life and the stories of the most vulnerable that you've worked with in such an impactful way. Thank you for your ability to weave our community together in such a beautiful way, and for inspiring me to run and inspiring me to be a better public servant, and for showing us also what it looks like to serve in a way that's both vulnerable and strong. Thank you for not just making sure that the most vulnerable are at the table, but that they also have a seat at the table. And for bringing people into places of power with you. To shift a little bit to talk about what happened on Tuesday, as an Indian American, voting for Kamala Harris was one of the proudest moments of my life. But like many of you, I'm still processing what happened, and I'm devastated by the results. And I know that we'll come together and we'll emulate you, Lynn, in helping to fight so hard to protect the most vulnerable in our community. And I actually said this, I think today, to Councilmember Cynthia Harrison, where I shared that in this bleak, dark place that we find ourselves as a nation, I feel safer knowing that someone like Lynn, who's such a powerful force of good, is out there fighting the bigger monsters. Thank you.
Councilmember Dish.
I will be brief because everyone has been wonderful, but I want to begin, as many of us have, and say that the one bright spot on Tuesday evening, which was not full of bright spots, it was full of red spots, was a nearly 10-minute PBS special on schools that have, or universities that were creating voting centers, and Michigan's was the star of the show. There was no interview of you, Ms. Beaudry, but it was your baby, and we were about knowing that things were over, and my friend said, let me show you this wonderful thing, and we watched that. And I thank you, because they can't take that away. That's these are lasting work. This is foundations. And there's a lot that can't be taken away by that hideous result from Tuesday night. And among them, thank you all, because it's the millages that you have voted for us. We have a legislative safety net in this town. It will be harder without things like ARPA and the what did they end up calling it? It was really the Green Bill, but it was the Inflation Reduction Act. So, we have the affordable housing and the sustainability millages, and we will continue to be doing the work that will be a countermeasure for what is happening nationally, and that is what cities can do. We have control over a ton of infrastructure that in the past has done some injustice, and in this town, for many years now, we are building justice where injustice was done, and that can't be taken away either. And so we need to watch out for people who are vulnerable because of their visa statuses and all of those things, right? But we have work we can do. And Lynn, you have been an inspiration. You have been an inspiration both for the ways that you have extended the imagination of what we use our power for, but also the way you say, you know, if I had a magic wand, I would do that, but I don't. And the number of times that we have talked about roads and how powerless we are to get anybody's road moved up the list. I cherish that because I hear a lot about that in Ward 1. So, you know, I love you for your expansive imagination and for your, you know, cheerful embrace of limits, and thank you.
Further communication from council. Councilmember Ekman.
Thank you. Try not to be too repetitive, but I have had the privilege of serving with Lynn on not one but two elected boards. First on the library board, and then I followed her to this one. So let me know where we're going next. I've come to know you for your kindness, the way you wear your heart on your sleeve, but I think what I'm going to cherish the most is just, it sounds like a cheesy cliche, but your relentless positivity. I just find you to be such an antidote to negativity. And anyone that served in a public service role knows that some of the negativity can be rather pronounced and in your face. Even just this past weekend, I had a kind of negative, disturbing interaction at a polling location. Lynn rolled up like a hero with some homemade tea, and she completely disarmed this person that was being so hostile just by being her. And I've just seen that countless times and cherish that. Thank you.
Further communication from council. Councilmember Briggs.
Thank you. First, I also want to thank Clerk Beaudry, City Administrator Mahoney, the Police Department, Emergency Response System. You know, Tuesday's election was fraught with a lot of risk. There were a number of threats locally that were met, and a lot of that were prevented because we have such a secure election system. So, thank you to all who made that happen and made that possible, and thanks to the voters of Ann Arbor who showed up and turned out and volunteered and worked hard. And this is not the result that we wanted to see, and it's disappointing, and we're all figuring out how to get through this together. And I feel like we can get through it together. This room is a microcosm of what we have in our community. You know, 4 years ago, when I ran for the first time with 4 others in this room, we were facing same fear, you know, more of fearful outcome, and it had a much better response. You know, we had a much better result that time, and it was a very exciting time. So, Lynn, you are to blame because you didn't run again. Because it's the only difference that I see. No, but it's been a pleasure to serve with you. You know, you can see just from this room the amount of community building that you've done, the level of positivity that you've brought, and the cheer, and the positivity during hard times, and facing, you know, I think as Kamala Harris said, you know, it's in dark times that we see the bright stars, and you're certainly one of those that shines the brightest in our community. So thank you for all the work you've done and all the work that you will do.
Further communication from council. Councilmember Cornell.
So I might be the only person in this room who's reached out to Councilmember Song and bemoaned the lack of funding for the arts in our community, and had that text exchange end in a gleeful exchange about dog ice cream and how that is such a delightful part of anyone's life, and how everything can be made beautiful by both food and art. And so I want to thank you for that sector of your work. And I don't know that that's spoken to. And in terms of just making impact and just making the world around you more beautiful, you've had a truly profound impact on this community, and the difference that you've made in so many lives, whether or not people know it, is meaningful. And I hope that when you walk out of here, you know that, and that you know how appreciated you are and respected you are for the work that you've done. And after you leave this table, you've made so many connections for me and this entire room with each other and with others in our community. And I think the important part for me to bring up is you've created connections between tech and art and social services and transportation, and it all plays together in a way to create community in a way that you have been able to take a step back, but also really lean forward into. That's made a really long-lasting impact on our town. And coming out of Tuesday, when I was laying in bed crying and you basically were like, get out of bed and let's go make some more connections, I'll remember that. In such a crazy, terrible time, I'll remember that. So on a personal note, thank you.
Hey man, this is the time.
It's so lovely that everyone has had such kind words. You should know there are a couple of council members that went upon election because our meetings were originally on Zoom. I gifted foot massage machines. So to just get us through some very long and difficult meetings with former council members. So that's my hot tip for everyone entering public service. You do not have to suffer while at the table. So thank you, everyone, for coming. It's just so kind of you to come out. I'll just share some reflections. In the past 4 years, I've learned that Ann Arbor can fight for each other and not with each other in difficult times like the pandemic and during Trump's presidency. To come into office as he exited and to leave now as our country embraces him once again tells me that while our community has the right priorities, we have so much more work to do for people to understand and trust the role of government in our lives. The noise and misinformation we might read online or watch on social media cannot replace the truth of the work and careful attention we give to our city and country. Everyone at this table has rejected hate and cynicism against residents and against public servants in meaningful ways at City Hall and in the community. Everyone at this table has asked whether the status quo is enough, or can we prepare for the future as if our lives depend on it. Ann Arbor does not stand alone in this work because we are neighbors, and we recognize our history as a city that grows over time. Women became financially independent by running boarding homes here. Veterans came here for higher education courtesy of the GI Bill. Jewish families rented and sold homes to Black families when other families would not. This city defines and remedies harmful economic and racist policies because we are a city that learns together. We built the country's first low-income senior housing development with HUD. We became a safe haven for LGBTQ folks from around the state. And we are a city where the firstborn of Vietnamese refugees could hold down 2 jobs as a commuting student and eventually be elected twice by residents, first to the library board and then to city council. But we need to work faster because we have people missing from this community. BIPOC residents with legacies are now township residents. Townies and their adult children are being priced out of neighborhoods. And our housing wait list tells us that it isn't luxury housing that contributes to homelessness, but limited state and federal funding, in addition to outdated zoning policies and regulations. And I thank my colleagues here for taking this charge to heart in every commission meeting, every council meeting, every conversation you have at the local level, at the state level, and federal levels. And we are only better if we do better together. So I'll be cheering you on with occasional visits as a public commenter, while continuing my philanthropic work in housing, justice, the arts, and social services in Southeast Michigan. I'm especially excited to dive deeper into my role as a board member on our state housing authority's new entity, Great Lakes Housing Services. This is the time for bipartisan work and to welcome success that we've seen in other states like Montana, Minnesota, and Maryland. I've moved on from municipal crushes to state crushes now. And I want to make sure that this state, this country is welcoming and that we recognize how housing insecurity is a policy choice. Finally, I'd like to thank my family for their patience and love as I navigated local politics and community organizing beyond our wonderful neighborhood. And In 2016, my youngest wore her Elsa costume and crown as she passed out bookmarks for my library campaign. My oldest helped me map out campaign sign distribution routes. Then in 2020, my family door knocked and my husband skateboarded to drop off campaign literature. They believed in me and in my hopes for Ann Arbor. So thank you all for dreaming with me and for working with me. Get those foot massage machines.
They're very good. All council members having spoken and in a somewhat awkward order, now it's my turn to speak. Perhaps we should have suspended the rules. Well, I will be brief. I got a couple of points, of course. First, on the election. There's lots that has been said in our community here at the table and throughout. Anger is ascendant in our country. Distrust is ascendant in our country. But I think folks who look around this room, look around, understand their government, understand their community, know that that's not the case in Ann Arbor. In Ann Arbor, we have a government that is committed to the community, to every member of the community. We here at City Hall, and indeed so many throughout our town, we love our neighbor, and we have a faith in the future, and we're not giving up on either. That's what I'm going to say about that for now. On to the election as a matter of process and structure, I do want to thank the entire municipal organization. With respect to Tuesday and the tremendous amount of work that goes into Tuesday in administering a fair and free and secure election, Councilmember Boudry, maybe someday. Clerk Boudry and her staff have been absolutely incredible. We all know that running elections requires diligence and precision and good cheer, and that's what we see. Our permanent staff, of course, in the clerk's office, and all the members of our community who become temporary election workers, they just really did Ann Arbor proud. We had thousands of people voting early, absentee on the day, thousands of people registering early on the day. It was a joy to see. We had news crews looking around for the lines, looking around for the problems, just not here. I'd also like to add, election season does not occur in a vacuum. It occurs during football season. And we have all the festivals and the novelty of the university calendar. We have rallies and events and marches and protests, and those things do not happen they do not happen safely without our incredible first responders on the scene and crucially in the background and in the planning, working hard every day and harder still the next to make it happen. And so in addition to the election officials, I'd also want to give a sincere and earnest and debt of thanks to our first responders, our fire department, our police department, and our emergency operations staff, and God knows who else I've forgotten. But they did the city proud up and down the line as they always do. So that's that. I'd like to request confirmation for the following appointments that were presented to City Council on October 21, 2024. To the Transportation Commission, Eric Zecher and Kate Fellering. Can I have a motion, please? Moved by Councilmember Eric Cornell, second by Councilmember Ackman. Discussion? Oh, wait a minute. I forgot to say something about Lynn. Oh. No, it's not. No. All in favor? Opposed? It's approved. I think I still technically have the floor in commission. I'm so glad I looked over in this direction. What an omission. Well, I'll say this. Everything that has been said in this room is true. She's inspired me for so many different things, with most particularity mooncake, which if I had been a better person, I would have brought today. But to perhaps summarize, the popular imagination suspects that someone here at this table is behind everything in Ann Arbor. Is the puppet master, where all connections are made, all orders issued, all plans derived. But what I think we hear is that there's someone else who just might be that puppet master. And that's all I'll say about that. And if there were such a person, we simply could not do better. Thus endeth communications. As everyone leaves. We have before us the consent agenda. May I have a motion, please, to approve the consent agenda? Moved by Councilmember Dish, seconded by Councilmember Adina. Discussion of the consent agenda. That's for BC? That's all right. Oh, good. Any discussion on the consent agenda? All in favor? Opposed? The consent agenda is approved with 9 council members present, thus satisfying the 8-vote requirement I'm going to say 9 council members present, thus satisfying the 8-vote requirement with respect to CA6. We now come to a set of public hearings. Public hearings are opportunities for members of the public to speak to council and the community about matters of the subject matter of the public hearing. To speak at a public hearing, one need not have signed up in advance, but speaker's speech must relate to the specific subject matter of the public hearing, that is to say, the specific item on the agenda to which the public hearing relates. Speakers in all instances will have 3 minutes in which to speak, so please pay close attention to the time. Our clerk or the time clock will notify you when 30 seconds are remaining and when your time has expired. When your time is expired, please conclude your remarks and cede the floor. Public hearing number 1, an ordinance to amend Chapter 55, zoning, rezoning of 1.66 acres from Ann Arbor Township designation, TWP district, to R1D, single family dwelling district, 3474 East Huron River Drive rezoning. Is there anyone in-house who would like to speak at this public hearing? Is there anyone online who would like to speak at this public hearing?
Mayor, I don't have any callers online with their hands up for this hearing.
Seeing no one, this public hearing is closed. Public hearing number 2, an ordinance to amend Section 9103 of Chapter 111, Fire Prevention of Title 9 of the Code of the City of Ann Arbor. Is there anyone in-house who would like to speak at this public hearing?
Hi, Adam Goodman again. Down to actual business, I guess. So I'll start by saying that modern fire codes save lives. And so according to some data from the National Fire Protection Association, apartment fire deaths actually dropped 54% in this country from 1980 to 2022. Just 470 people died in apartment fires in 2022. And the vast majority of those serious fires actually occur in older buildings that are not equipped with modern fire suppression systems like sprinklers, which are basically a requirement for new mid-rise and high-rise buildings. So sprinklers in particular have saved a ton of lives. We should be grateful for that. Unfortunately, the same can't be said of our road designs. As many of you know, we have over 40,000 people who die every year on America's roads. That's about 100 times the number of apartment fire deaths. And the trend's also bad. The people biking and walking are getting killed in precipitously increasing numbers. So last year, some researchers from Johns Hopkins University released a comprehensive and groundbreaking study on road designs and road safety. Their top-line conclusion was this: narrow lanes save lives. They recommend using 9-foot lanes wherever possible, and at most 11 feet where you have to accommodate larger vehicles like buses or delivery trucks. So what's holding us back from implementing that kind of recommendation? Well, there's probably a bunch of things, but fire codes are one of them. And so if we have this requirement that says we have to have a 26-foot clear width, on a 2-lane road, we're talking at least a 13-foot lane. So, I think it's pretty clear from these numbers that if our goal is to save lives, this 26-foot requirement is doing way more harm than good. But I actually think, I question whether it does any good, because cities around the world, even some old cities in the US, have no trouble fighting fires with narrow roads, in some cases even narrower than 20 feet. So in spite of our tremendous progress over the last several decades on fire deaths, we are still lagging European countries on fire deaths per capita, even though many of those countries are full of narrow roads and have no fire code that says they have to do otherwise. So many other cities around this country have already realized this problem and struck this 26-foot requirement or anything similar from their codes. I think Portland and San Francisco are notable examples. And so I'm really happy to see that Ann Arbor is considering doing the same tonight, and I encourage you all to vote yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in House who would like to speak at this public hearing? Is there anyone online who would like to speak at this public hearing?
Mayor, I don't see any callers online with their hands up.
Seeing no one, this public hearing is closed. Public hearing number 3, resolution to approve the 1146 South Maple annexation, 1.2 acres, 1146 South Maple Road. Is there anyone in-house who would like to speak at this public hearing?
Hi, thank you. I'm Wendy Cardy-Saxon, Director of Real Estate Development at Avalon Housing. And I really appreciate City Council's consideration of the annexation request for 1146 South Maple. As noted in the packet, the land is currently owned by the city, with Avalon Housing having a purchase agreement on that land. We're looking to develop that site with 39 units of affordable housing, including 20 of which will be targeted to households exiting homelessness. And your action today would certainly help us further move down that path to bring those units online, and we really appreciate that consideration. I'll note we're also excited that that development has also received funding through the City of Ann Arbor Affordable Housing Millage, and we very much appreciate your consideration. Just wanted to say I'm here, and Avalon's Executive Director, Aaron Cooper, is also here, and will be pleased to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in-house who would like to speak at this public hearing? Is there anyone online who would like to speak at this public hearing?
Mayor, I don't have any callers with their hands up for this hearing.
Seeing no one, this public hearing is closed. We have before us the regular session meeting minutes of October 21st, 2024. May I have a motion, please, to approve these minutes? Moved by Councilmember Cornell, seconded by Councilmember Iyer. Discussion of the minutes. All in favor? Opposed? The minutes are approved. B1, an ordinance to amend Chapter 55, zoning, rezoning of 1.66 acres from Ann Arbor Township designation, TWP District, to R1D, Single Family District, 3474 East Huron River Drive, rezoning. Moved by Councilmember Dish, seconded by Councilmember Adina. Discussion of B1. All in favor? All opposed? It is approved. B2, an ordinance to amend Section 9103 of Chapter 111, Fire Prevention of Title 9 of the Code of the City of Ann Arbor. Moved by Councilmember Ackman, second by Councilmember Iyer. Discussion, please, of B2. I believe we have Chief Kennedy with a question response.
Hi there. Good evening, Mayor and Council. So this is a very simple and straightforward change to the fire code. With the continual downtown density and vertical development, we were continuing to kind of find ourselves with not enough street access with regard to bike lanes along with the 26 feet aerial access. So this would literally only change one sentence, and it would move the 26 feet to 20 feet, which is the normal standard, and this only applies for buildings that are in excess of 30 feet. This is actually addressed in the 2021 International Fire Code. However, the state building code is still on 15, and we are still on the 15 fire code, and so it certainly makes sense for those to be in alignment. When the state moves to 21, we intend on also coming back before this body to adopt the 21 fire code. So there's alignment. This is just a much easier lift than adopting an entire fire code. We hope that the state adopts it in 25. So we'll likely be back here in calendar 25 before you for that alignment. And again, this is addressed in the 2025 it's addressed in the 2021 fire code, which we will hopefully adopt in calendar 25. So I know there's a lot there, but this is very simple. I would not be before you if I felt that this was a threat to public safety. Every single other life safety code, fire code, sprinkler, suppression, fire resistance is still in place with high-rise development. So
Thank you, Chief.
Okay.
Councilor Ack?
Thanks so much. I don't have further questions, but I just appreciate you addressing that head on. I talked the last time about how this conflict helps us with addressing this disparity helps us achieve our safety goals on roads because we know that wider roads have safety implications. But I also wanted to speak to, I got some more information from staff since the last meeting, and this requirement also helps us have a less cumbersome and less expensive development process. So not only is it safer for our streets, but a lot of times with the current regulations, the developers have to spend an onerous amount of time navigating uncertainty in the process for a standard that it sounds is not necessary. And often some of the things that they're having to contend with is moving curbs or narrowing sidewalks. There's only so much width to play with. So that's also becoming a problem. And sometimes, like I said, removing sidewalk, which we don't want. So this change is not only important for our road safety, but it's also totally concurrent with our other goals to make development easier where we can. And as you heard from the chief, we are not putting safety at risk with this. We are making people safer. Thank you.
Further discussion? All in favor? All opposed? It's approved. DS1, resolution to approve the 1146 South Maple annexation, 1.2 acres, 1146 South Maple Road. Moved by Councilmember Dish, seconded by Councilmember Ghazi Edwin. Discussion, please, of DS1. Councilmember Dish.
I'll just give you the quick paragraph on this, that this property is currently Scioto Township property, and approval of this resolution will simply allow annexation of this property. It is within the city's water and service area, and the current use is consistent with adjacent zoning, land uses, and comprehensive plan. There will be further action for the plans to this site, which you just heard about, which are only good news and lovely. Thank you very much. We need every piece of good news. And we will have at least one every meeting for the next 4 years, I am sure. And so, I'm sorry, I'm sure this is all so inappropriate. But anyway, so yes, let's vote yes for this. It's very simple, and we'll have, we'll see more of it soon.
Further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? It is approved. Ms. Kaur.
Hello, Mayor Taylor. At Administrator Dahoney's request, there is a request for a closed session under MCL 15.268, Section 81A, to consider the periodic personnel evaluation of Mr. Dahoney.
Is that our exclusive closed?
Yes, that is the only closed session tonight.
Thank you. May I have a motion, please, to go into closed session on that basis? Moved by Councilmember Cornell, second by Councilmember Briggs. Discussion? Roll call vote, please, starting with Councilmember Ackman.
Councilmember Ackman?
Yes.
Councilmember Briggs?
Yes.
Councilmember Cornell?
Yes.
Councilmember Dish?
Yes.
Councilmember Harrison?
Yes.
Councilmember Song?
Yes.
Councilmember Watson? Absent. Councilmember Medina?
Yes.
Councilmember Ghazi Edwin?
Yes.
Mayor Taylor?
Yes.
Councilmember Iyer?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Did you just see Kevin's memo?
in open session. DS1, resolution to approve the resolution to finalize evaluation report and amend the employment agreement of City Administrator Milton Mahoney Jr. Moved by Councilmember Radina, seconded by Councilmember Dish. Discussion, please, of DC1. Councilmember Radina.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to amend the first resolved clause to read that Section 3 of the employment agreement between Milton Mahoney Jr. and the City of Ann Arbor be amended to reflect, 1, an increase of $30,000 to the City Administrator's annual salary, retroactive to and effective May 17th, 2024, as provided in Section 3 of the employment agreement, and 2, Section 3 of the agreement be amended to also provide a one-time lump sum payment of 3% to the City Administrator's current salary, which amounts to $8,400.
Is there a second? Second by Councilmember Harrison. Discussion, please, of the amendment. All in favor?
Yes.
Opposed? The amendment is approved. Further discussion of the main motion as amended. I'll just say briefly. The municipal organization, the community as a whole, I think I can say without fear of a material contradiction, the council, jointly and severally, and myself certainly individually, continue to thank our lucky stars that Mr. Mahoney has decided to take our offer so many years ago and be our city administrator. He leads the municipal organization. He engages in the community with character and integrity and diligence and profound expertise. I simply could not be more lucky. And so we're glad you're here. You bet. Further discussion? Sure.
I was just going to briefly say that, echoing everything that you've said, but this is one of those situations when I think, we've gone through this process a couple of years now, and I often think back to I believe it was the Observer article that entitled "Everybody Loves Milton" shortly after you got here, and I think this is one of those instances when it's actually disappointing that evaluations are private and documents, because I think it would be demonstrative to the community that Mr. Mahoney has the confidence of staff and council alike, and that his evaluations are excellent. So thank you.
Councilor Harrison.
So I just wanted to add that this salary increase for Administrator Mahoney is really well deserved. He has continued to lead with dedication and excellence. His work on the bicentennial was especially remarkable, as he poured his energy and commitment into making it an unforgettable celebration for our community and all of the events, and one that we have coming up. This salary increase not only acknowledges his exceptional efforts, but also reinforces our commitment to retaining a leader who genuinely cares about the future of Ann Arbor and its residents. So I just want to thank you.
Councilmember Iyer.
Thank you. I just wanted to commend Mr. Mahoney on another year of absolutely exceptional service with our city. Thank you so much for going above and beyond every single day in leading this organization. The changes that you've made in morale among city staff are palpable, and you are appreciated up and down the organization, not just for the work you're doing on our current infrastructure and with our current employees, but leading new initiatives as well. We need you here working on our economic development plan and strategy and setting up that office, and you are the right person to continue that work, and I'm happy to support this.
Further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? It is approved. May I have a motion to adjourn, please? Moved by Councilmember Dish. Second. Mercy sakes. Today of all days after the election, shouldn't we accept the clerk's report of communications? Motion to approve the clerk's report, moved by Councilmember Briggs, seconded by Councilmember Radina. Discussion of the clerk's report. All in favor? Opposed? It's approved. Do we have communications today from our city attorney?
Yes, we do, Mayor.
Gasp.
Well, I would like to take a moment to thank Chief Deputy City Attorney Kevin McDonald for his 21 years of service to the city, of exemplary service. I am personally indebted to him because when I started here, I was new to the world of municipal law. And Mr. McDonald helped me get acclimated. He held the team together as interim city attorney. We have all learned much from him, and we have much to be grateful for. So I just want to thank him for his service. He retires from the city effective November 12th. Thank you.
May I have a motion to adjourn, please? Moved by Councilmember Cornell, seconded by Councilmember Iyer. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? We are adjourned.